Welcome back to Beyond the Spectrum. This is Dream sharing our final episode of our family's journey with autism. So let's jump right into the continuation of the question and answer session with Mikey.
All right. These, I think, might be like shorter answers because they're shorter questions. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the hardest struggle being autistic?
Maybe the thing was, after learning officially that I was autistic, maybe there was some sort of mindset that was thinking, okay, so I'm autistic now. This is the expectation. And then in time, I'll get it right. So maybe it's the thing, maybe it's me thinking that I won't be able to get it the first time and I will probably mess this up, but I'll come back and I'll get it right the next time. And if I don't, then I'll get it the next time or the next time. But it was just me having, I suppose, less of an expectation for myself because maybe I had an excuse to fall back on secretly. Mm-hmm. So my biggest downfall is I do get very frustrated with myself.
You do.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I get frustrated because there are times I feel like I have to learn and I have to be my own motivator. And that was the biggest intimidation for me because I didn't know how to motivate myself and I didn't know how to teach myself. And I felt like the only way possible for that was to jump into the deep end with knowing at least how to float. So if I knew how to float, I at least had something to fall back on without drowning. But in time, if I just knew how to float, I would eventually get the rhythm for knowing how to swim, and then maybe eventually knowing how to dive and knowing how to go deeper into the water. So it's just a matter of thinking that there's going to be a time and a place for me to teach myself, and I'll have to be ready for it. So that's my biggest downfall is how long it took me to become my own motivator. When I've been so used to everyone motivating me.
Yeah.
Is once again breaking out of that pattern.
Yeah. That's
which is one of the biggest jumps.
It is
being used to patterns and having to go out and start from square one again. Is what is so intimidating about it.
Yeah. Wow, that ended up being a really yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one because that was shaking me while I was like listening to you, just thinking, just hearing the way that your perspective is on it. I know these things, but hearing you say it feels different,
Right.
Okay. How about this one? What do you think was your most challenging accomplishment? Something like you're really proud of that you're like, oh, that was hard, but I'm glad I succeeded there.
Probably just going back to what I said earlier when just thinking to myself, I'm done being afraid. I'm done stopping and I'm done letting everybody do this for me. I'm going to do it myself. Because that was just the start of, okay, I can't keep doing this forever.
Yeah.
I guess there were times where Aunt Laura would say to me, come on, Micah, you're a big boy now. You got to do this yourself. You're a big boy. You're a big... I was thinking, okay, I'm a big boy now, so this is what I do.
Yeah.
I have to do it.
Right.
And it was just that matter of thinking, okay, this is who I am now. People are no matter what going to have expectations. So excel.
Yeah.
Don't meet them, just go past them, no matter how hard it is.
Yeah.
And it was just starting with stop being afraid.
Yeah.
And just do it.
That's so hard.
Yeah.
For people across the board, it's so hard. Fear is like the number one thing that we're afraid of, Right. But it's just so cool that you have an actual moment where you're like that dog on that video game, but it sounds funny, but at the same time, it's like, that was when it was like enough, And it makes you wonder if maybe because it was this alternate reality that your game that you were playing and it wasn't real life, you were able to conquer that and then apply it. I don't know.
So it's not sorry if it doesn't sound very challenging, but it was something that I was very proud of afterwards.
I think it's incredibly challenging because it's silly when you say, oh, it's a video game that I beat some, but it's not.
It was
what
the
you're
first
saying
step.
is, it's the first step where you actually made the conscious choice of, I'm not going to let this stop me. That is a huge accomplishment. And maybe people don't even realize they have these little things along the way where it is silly, but they only say, oh no, I did it here, but really where it started, you just happen to know exactly where it started from.
Right.
Really cool. Okay, this one you maybe already answered. What suggestions would you give to another autistic man or woman that would be able to hone in on some of the problems that they face in society? I guess the advice, so it can maybe like identify what are the things that are stopping them. Can you speak to that, or do you feel like the spectrum is so broad that it's hard to?
It is. Well, I suppose maybe I have answered already, but it really is hard to be your own motivator.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of taking yourself out of the familiar pattern, which is extremely hard for people to do, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of maybe surround yourself with people you trust.
Yeah.
Have them motivate you so you're not alone, but be ready for when, because things happen in life. Life is hard. If you're down on the ground, are you going to stay down on the ground and let everybody walk over you, or are you going to get back up and fight? Because it's unforgiving out there.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the world hates those who are different.
Yeah.
But don't let anyone's expectations of you define what you can do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Love it. You should have just run this whole thing from the start. I think you probably answered this one already, but I'll ask it if you want to add anything to it.
Go for it.
How did you come to terms when you were told that you were autistic?
I just straight up acceptance, because I knew before that there was something wrong with me. I just didn't know what. But when I found out, it was just a matter of, okay, I'm autistic. So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it probably, I mean, that's the way that we viewed it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and you said just now, there's something wrong with me. I prefer to not say that. I say something's different with you because I don't think it's wrong. I think that it's different. But I can see how a child's mind would say, this is right because all of society is doing this and I'm wrong because I'm doing it differently. But for any other autistic person out there, man, woman, child, they would realize you're not wrong. You're just different.
Right.
And I think that, I think you also hit on this too, that from the start, it was kind of like, oh yeah, something different, but maybe not full acceptance. But as soon as you had those moments, you were like, all right, yeah, okay, this is my reality then, so just embrace it.
Going back to what I said at the very beginning, was that first seed of being planted, like, whoa, what in the world was that?
Yeah.
Am I actually autistic? I was extremely intimidated by it because I was thinking, if I really am autistic, then my life just got exponentially harder. I was very, very intimidated, and I was thinking, okay, if this is the case, I am going to have a lot to deal with, and I don't know where I start.
Let me interject there. That's actually, though, just your perception, because your life didn't change. The only thing that changed was your acceptance. You were autistic before that, and you were already in special day school and hope therapy, and our family was doing all these things. So your life actually, I think another thing that is sad, because at the time where you were growing up and being autistic, there wasn't a lot out there that was known about it. There wasn't a lot of examples. Like you said, we did watch the Temple Grandin movie, and you hadn't watched Rain Man, which everybody had at that point because it was an adult movie. But nobody knew what that looked like in reality. And you didn't really have a lot of friends that were autistic at the time where you could say, this is what autism looked like. All you have was what you were feeling, and now saying, oh, but you didn't become autistic when you accepted it.
Right.
You were autistic and your life didn't change. Your life the next day was exactly the same, except your perspective of it changed. Right. We still treated you the same.
Right.
We still expected the same. You know me. I was like, yep, you're different, and yep, you can do this.
Yeah.
There was no...
It was just a matter of, so that's why every time I say to someone, I'm autistic, they're always like, I would never have known that.
Right.
It's just a matter of, you have autism, so what?
Yeah.
Just
Be you.
go past their expectations of what the world views you as.
Yeah.
Because you're capable of great things.
Yeah.
What's going to help you is you telling yourself that you can do this.
Yeah.
But if you just sit down and let everyone walk over you, that's only what they'll pounce on. Just you being weak when in fact you get back up. That's what everyone admires.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more to go. We finally came to the finishing line. Okay, this is from Nana. Going to that special place was so interesting to me. I think she's talking about how you detach and you pull back and you kind of like, she says, is it kind of like another world? She says, I ask because I would love to have a place like that. So I think she just wants to know, what is that like for you when you kind of detach?
So it's just finding peace is what I can best describe it as, which is why I remember once more watching SpongeBob.
SpongeBob is like the greatest thing ever.
Oh my goodness. No, classic SpongeBob. But either way, there was this one episode where SpongeBob and Patrick would jump into a box and they would just make their own world right afterwards. But I remember there was a box big enough for me. I jumped inside and I just didn't need any other world.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed the silence and the darkness and all of that stuff. And it was just a matter of, the world is chaotic out there.
Yeah.
But in here, I can make the rules, but I'm just enjoying how very little chaos is in here. It's just me and my thoughts. It's just a matter of zoning out, as everyone would see me do, is just going into that place of thinking, okay, here's the world. They're going to do their own thing. I'm going to do my thing. And then when they need me, I'll just jump right back in. But, yeah, it's just a matter of getting away from the harshness of the world.
Yeah.
And
those expectations.
Whether it be, yeah, definitely. That's a big one, expectations. Whether it be your room or like how I did it, a box. I don't know, just...
Yeah,
it's a matter of finding peace wherever your favorite spot is.
Yeah.
It varies for everybody. But
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll wrap this up now, but this has by far been the most favorite part of the whole journey for me on these episodes. The series, I should say, is just getting to hear you speak and you share your heart. And even at this stage of our journey, to be able to still have some insight that you're sharing and like completely enlightening me and blowing my mind. I love it. So I'm just going to turn it over to you now, and I'm going to let you close it out. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts would be, I remember growing up just thinking, what's going to happen? I remember thinking when I was younger, what is my voice going to sound like when I'm older? What am I going to look like when I'm older? What am I going to do when I'm older? Who am I going to actually be a father, or am I going to be alone and perfectly happy, or what's going to happen? But I remember maybe just one day, I'm not sure when I asked this. I probably asked this so many times in my life, was just asking myself, who am I? Why am I here? Why do I see this perspective behind my eyes? Why don't I see anyone else's perspective behind their eyes? Why don't I see anyone else's lives? Why am I here? What is it like being here? Why am I not in someone else's body? Blah, blah, blah. So many other things. And it was just a matter of, this is who I am. This is what the world is like. And this is what I've been given. So what am I going to do with it? And it is really just a matter of, are you brave enough to take the first step? Or do you just really not expect so much of yourself? Which is the worst way of looking at it. And I just remember thinking, this is exactly how I am because God created me this way. And this is the man that Jesus chose to give his life for. So if that's the case, how am I going to live the life that he's given me by sacrificing his own? Am I going to live my way, or am I going to live the way that he wants me to live? And he's been my biggest supporter in my life. So it'd be a tragedy to turn everything I have against him and live the way I want to. Because I wouldn't know where the first step is, and I wouldn't know how to take the first step. So it's just a matter of, who am I? Because what I did for the longest part of my life was mimicking others. I remember mimicking my dad's behavior. I remember mimicking my brother's behavior, mimicking my friend's behavior. But how was I going to be myself and stop mimicking others? So I was thinking, I love seeing people happy. I love making people laugh, but I didn't know how to tell jokes. I didn't know how to be funny. I only liked what was familiar. So it was just a matter of, okay, this is what I like to do. So how do I learn to do it by myself? I remember maybe just starting by watching other people tell jokes, whether it was on the internet or TV, and maybe just saying it to other people and they'd start laughing. I remember being like, okay, that felt good. Maybe I can get a hold of this. Let's see if I can do it myself. Let me see if I can make my own jokes. Let me see if I can be funny by myself without looking like a fool. I remember learning that I was autistic. I remember wanting to surpass any expectation that anybody had on me. Maybe working with a giant smile on my face, just being happy all the time. But I feel like a lot of this dwindled away from looking at how turned around this world has gotten. I remember absolutely loving people, which was a complete turnaround because I wanted to be alone for the longest part of my life. But yeah, all that just came back to that one question is, who am I? And what does it mean to actually live life? How do I actually live life successfully as someone with this disability, or whatever you want to call it? You know, some people don't call it a disability, and personally, I don't either, because it's just a matter of taking each step at a time and committing to those steps. You can stop along the way, but it's just a matter of getting back up again and taking another step. Because everyone is capable of giving up. Whether you have autism or whether you don't have autism, whether you have something else, everyone's capable of giving up.
Yeah.
But everyone is also capable of getting back up. So, with that being said, yeah, there are times I am frustrated with myself, but I wouldn't change anything about it. That's basically my closing thoughts. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you once again, Dream, for having me. This was really fun.
I love you, Mikey.
Love you too, Mama.
So that's it. Bye, everybody.